It doesn't get any better than this. I just got laid.
People doubted whether you actually drove to Temecula.
No, I went to Temecula and brought you some dirt.
Don't.
You do it like this. You get it. You sort of rub it on. Get it, and then you just sort of, okay, now I'm ready to go.
Yeah, because I'm the luckiest dude in the world, man. I was born into a world of hope, optimism, peace, love, books, and music.
Maybe I'll just strip down right here.
Bill is taking his shirt off. Isn't wearing deodorant, taking his shirt off.
I'm the tall guy with the big smile on his face, trying to wave his arms in the air and celebrate the greatness of everything that we have. But what is better right now than the NBA Finals?
This is an excellent shirt, by the way. I've got one of those.
This is your shirt.
That's my shirt.
It is.
Recording live from count them, three locations. This is Past the Rock. I'm Patrick, and as always, I'm joined by two great men. Caesar, a.k.a. LC's.
So fresh, I'm the fresh David Koresh? I don't know. I just read that lyric off from Rick Ross's Saint Bud.
Yeah, you're the fresh David Koresh.
And Jacob, a.k.a. Bethke.
Yeah, back is completely healed. I'm ready to start Game 5 for the Dallas Mavericks. Last week I was taken out by I actually really do have like a lower back injury that just locks up on me every feels like a month or so. So that's fun. Yeah. I would have been sitting here yeah, but got to play a lot of GTA Vice City remake, so we're really living the childhood out again.
That's what's up.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Welcome back, gentlemen. Switch things up a little bit this week. We're just gonna go ahead and start with the Rangers. Just get it out of the way. Let's knock it out. Rough week, but the last couple days obviously won a couple games. Look a little better.
Is this a 3-game winning streak or 2? They fucked up one, didn't they? Should have been 3.
I feel like it's only the 2, but I might be wrong. Still right there, 3 back of the Mariners because they haven't really been doing anything. But the big story right now for the Rangers, at least, obviously yesterday, the Tuesday after Memorial Day, Jordan Montgomery got his World Series championship ring. When the Diamondbacks came back
couple
to town.
handshakes there for him
With Chris Young and Bruce Bochy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Rangers proceeded to win Game 1 of the matchup. They won again today during the day. And then of note in the last week, all of a sudden Corey Seager has come to life. And
don't bury the lead. He's back.
And as of today, tied the MLB record for most consecutive games with a home run.
Really? I was going to ask that.
Yeah. So Ken Griffey Jr. did it in 93. This is 8 games.
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr. did it in 93. Don Mattingly did it in 87. And the guy I've never heard of, who I might, if I read enough, was Dale Long from the Pirates in 1956. But this got me down on a deeper search. And I was like, well, who was close? So 7 games. Mike Trout, obviously. Joey Votto makes sense. Kendrys Morales from the Blue Jays. That one makes sense.
I remember that name.
Barry Bonds, you probably heard of him.
Yeah,
Jim Thome. But the last guy on the list was 7 home runs in consecutive days. 7 consecutive days with a home run, I mean to say. Texas Ranger Kevin Mench in 2006.
Oh, wow, that's a name.
A.K.A.
That's
Shrek.
deep cut.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was not expecting that former Texas Ranger. I actually thought you were going to bring up a ham bone reference. Felt like that was very possible for him.
It definitely possible, but probably not because he would just tire himself out. He never got to 6, which is as far as I looked down on the list. No other Rangers on the list, actually, but yeah, so that's just a funny note. Corey Seager back to life. Chance to set his own record. Next game out, Rangers with a chance to climb back closer to the Mariners.
Get that batting average right.
Eovaldi's back. Andrew Heaney finally got a real win.
Yeah, that's funny. I forgot about that.
Everything's coming together.
They're almost halfway through the season. He finally gets a win, and he's been a solid pitcher for about a month.
Because honestly, even despite winning yesterday and what would have been Seager's 7-game home run streak at the time, I was still like ready to just continue to berate them. But they won again today, so I'm feeling better about it.
The Seager thing is really like I'm making jokes, but like this does help the MVP race in my mind. But it's an MVP race full of one human being because I don't actually pay attention to baseball.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough. I know with Ohtani anymore.
Yeah, there's no Ohtani, but there's somebody doing big home run numbers this year, right? Am I wrong?
You're probably not wrong. I honestly have not been keeping up
to
with
a hot
anyone
start.
outside of the West.
Well, either
just
way.
give me a second. I can figure that out real quick.
No, you keep rolling. We also need to talk about the Rookie of the Year award candidacy finally getting restarted because no one's really claimed that one either, though, because the kid in Baltimore has been called up and down, right? Evan Carter might actually suck. We don't have to get into that. Yeah, I hope so too. And the Wyatt Langford is back and ready to play baseball. He was productive today. He was productive in his first game back, right? I think it was yesterday's first game back.
I think yesterday was his first game back. I think he did okay yesterday too, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Get the batting average respectable. Got an RBI today. I don't think he got an. I don't know if he played yesterday. I don't think he helped score. But either way,
all right. So
baby steps.
Yeah, I've got the lead.
For home run leaders, by the way, it's Kyle Tucker with 18.
Yeah,
on pace.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker. Yeah, of course. The bitch ass Astros are still alive.
And then of course you got Gunnar Henderson right behind him, tied with Aaron Judge at 17, 2 at 16, a couple more.
What is Seager out with this? Seager,
he's only at 13. He only had 5.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that tracks.
Garcia Garcia's one behind him at 12. Sorry.
Yeah, because that was Adolis for the longest time. But fair enough.
But hey, look, people are coming
he almost
back.
got injured, and he's not injured now, so that's good, right?
Yeah,
he's day to day.
He had a great throw out at home plate the other night.
Yeah, great. What they call a put out or an outfield assist. There's a couple different names for it. But,
what's Nate Lowe looking at? What's Nate Lowe's average right now? He's been back for a bit. Is it?
I'm not sure.
He's probably pissing us off. It's okay.
Yeah, the whole team's been miserable until the last 2 days. So, but anyways, the other thing of note today is Marcus Semien out of the lineup for the first time since May of 2022. Could still be from him running into Adolis Garcia, that game that I went to last week or whatever. Because that was pretty rough looking. Garcia missed a game or two with that, or at least he DH'd instead of playing the outfield. It was a pretty tough collision, right? It happened, I'm up a deck, but in front of me. So it's kind of a note. Semien doesn't miss games, and you can't take him out of the lineup unless he's really, really banged up. So I'm sure he'll be back, but still. Is
it back to the grindstone tomorrow? They had a couple days off this month or this last couple weeks.
Yeah, right before the Diamondbacks started.
For 30 days straight now.
It always feels that way in baseball. Nope, off tomorrow, travel day to go to
Miami.
The
Submariners have to deal with the Stros right now. Nice. So
we'll be playing Florida on Friday.
Aren't they doo-doo? Didn't they?
They are not good right now, 19-37.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Tied for worst in the NL. But still, both of those teams are 4 games ahead of the Chicago White Sox. And on that random note, we'll move on to what's really fun. My jersey, Bethke's hat, your Texas Dallas Stars, depending on what branding you're going with. As I put in the rundown, this team fucks. So since we last...
They like to live dangerous, too.
Since we last recorded, a bunch of stuff's happened. But since I was here last week... they've started the series against against Edmonton, and it started poorly. We were not loving it after game 1. If you guys remember, the Stars lost in second overtime, and it was probably the worst game we've played in the whole playoffs. And to only lose 3-2 in second overtime is a good sign, but also you hate to lose those at home. Blah blah blah. But I did hear, and I forgot what the actual stat was, but I'm pretty sure this year in the NHL playoffs, the away teams are winning like 65 to 70%. So home ice doesn't seem to be a real thing anymore, at least not this year. So yeah, Stars lose game 1. They come back. They win 3-1 game 2. They win 5-3 in game 3. So they're kind of in control of things again. They look like themselves. We got Rupe Hintz back, which was huge. We got a Jason Robinson.
The best forward in hockey.
He's really good, man.
I just saw a tweet today. I'm not that intelligent with hockey. But
me neither, but he's really good. And to have him back obviously helps the line with Jason Robertson. Like I said, got a hat trick. He scored a stupid goal. I don't know if you saw the third goal where he just is lined up to the side of the goal and just kind of throws it, and somehow it just squeaks in behind the goalie off his back. And that's nonsense. But he did he might have slipped, I don't know, in his post-game interview about it when he said that, like, basically the goalie coach has been working with them on, it sounded like he meant, like, on that specifically, which to me would mean they've seen that goalie leave that vulnerability on tape. So pretty cool. It was a really fun game. I like when they're in control of the game and I can not be too worried about it.
Which is very rare.
It is rare. They don't score as often as they should for a team that creates as many chances as they do. They don't convert them. I was talking about this with some friends today that it kind of makes us not look at Otter properly. We're like, he's not giving up a ton of goals. We're just not scoring a ton of goals. So,
yeah. Was the other series 3-1 Rangers now? Or did they tie it last
no, the
night?
Panthers won last night in overtime. Okay. I do believe. I fell asleep watching it.
Yeah, you're right.
So they're tied at 2.
Nice.
So we're in a bit of a different situation than what's going on in the NBA. We'll get to that obviously later, but there doesn't look like anyone's gonna be resting. I wouldn't be surprised if Edmonton pushes us to 6, potentially 7. I think I got Stars in 6, if not 5. They're just playing they're too good.
Let's just hit them with that gentleman's sweep and get it over with.
Yeah,
tonight would be a big one. Obviously, it becomes a different series if it's just it basically resets.
It's huge at this point. Yeah,
and there's not been any injuries of note for either side.
No, and guys coming back. So, like I said, Rupe Hintz came back. They had what's his name? Henrique, Adam Henrique, I think. He came back last night from a long injury. Then they got Corey Perry coming back tonight of Stars fame for 2 years maybe. He's the guy that most everyone else in the league hates for being a cheap shot, dirty guy.
That's how I've heard the name. Okay, I was about to say, no, this is a nefarious character.
He wasn't too bad when he played with us. He actually played pretty well. But he did have to get ejected from the Winter Classic at the Cotton Bowl like 4 minutes into the game, and then awkwardly walk by himself down that really long runway thing that went from the tunnels to the ice in the middle of the field.
I like that. I like that a lot, honestly. I know hockey's changed its ways and for the better probably, but at that point in time, I probably would have appreciated a more goon-like presence on the club.
I mean, I can't remember if that's either right before or right after we lost Montgomery, the coach, just out of nowhere. That was a crazy time.
No, I remember the Stars burning through coaches.
Now what I'm trying to remember, was that the start of 2020 or the start of 2021?
I don't know. There was a point where I was like, what the fuck? Isn't this a competent team? And then it was just
the very first day of everyone's favorite year, 2020.
Oh, I see.
Anyways.
Most memorable year in history?
Since 2001.
Well, man.
In this part of
what else happened in 2001?
Ed McCaffrey broke his leg on September 10th.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who won the Super Bowl in 2001?
Patriots.
They won in 2002, didn't they?
Wait, are you talking the 2001? Like, okay, what part of 2001? Are you talking about the
2001 would have been Ray Lewis and them, right?
Ray Lewis and the Ravens that January.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's okay. If you're talking about January,
but the 2001 football season, the champions are the New England Patriots.
That's right.
Anyway, I just like the calendar makes stupid things happen.
But anyways, so Stars are up. I would say they're they're favorites to win tonight, and they should do so. And we'll see how it goes. But then we'll quickly.
If they don't, we immediately panic and we blame me for buying more merch.
We won't be recording till after a potential Game 7, so we'll see.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty much shit or get off the pot. So you're calling your shot now. You're saying 6 games.
That's right.
Which would be that would be Sunday. So
they win tonight. Take it to 3-1, lose in Dallas, then take it in Edmonton.
Then go win in Edmonton. They are probably the second most winning team in the playoffs in Edmonton, outside of Edmonton, from the way we used to bully them in the 90s, which it's not fair because hockey didn't get a salary cap till like 2012. So,
and I feel like that's also Minnesota, isn't it?
What do you mean?
That's North Stars, you mean?
Yeah, in the 90s.
Oh, when they were the North Stars?
Yeah, when they were
the North Stars bullying
them? They
them?
did get pretty bad for a while, but they didn't. No, that's not where most of it comes from. The Stars in the late 90s just going up there in like round 1.
I got you.
Or maybe round 2 because they used to reseed every round. And so, they were a good team on a minimum budget, and we were just stacked to hell, so we were always going to beat them up no matter what.
As we should be now.
And we are, despite, I can't remember what the difference was, something like 20 million in salary cap back then between us and them. And this year it's like a couple, maybe 100,000, maybe.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yikes.
We used to be, the Stars that won the cup were an absolute just put together monster of a team.
Love it.
And that's the way superpowers are made sometimes.
And honestly, a couple breaks before and after away from a true dynasty with that team. They were really good. Anyways, that's where we're at. Stars look good. Pretty much everyone looks good. We're subbing Foxa in tonight for what's his name, Craig Smith. Something you do sometimes. Retool some of that fourth line, give it a little energy boost or whatever. It'll be fine.
I don't like. Craig Smith is too generically American. I'm not.
That could be Canadian. I don't know.
Okay, North American. Either way.
With hockey, it's always a good guess just to go Canadian first, unless the last name is like obviously like Heiskanen or.
I am one of those Texans who actually does enjoy the world a little bit. So I was including all of our brothers and sisters in North America and South America.
Yeah, the whole Western Hemisphere is America. That's fair.
Goddamn. Oh, wait. You know what? Becky was on the mark with American.
All right.
He's a good Wisconsin boy.
Craig Smith. That's basically.
Oh, that's close. Woo! Missed it by just miles right there.
They're Canada's Mexico up there, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
I agree. All right. Well, talking Stars.
That sounds offensive, and now I feel like I should take it back just in case.
To who?
Leave
Mexico, it in. Wisconsin, Canada.
Whoever. I'm sorry for my actions.
I think we can get away with roasting Minnesota, so just say that you're sorry to Mexico. We don't need the cartel after us.
That's right.
All right, yeah. So next is going to be our favorite thing ever. That's just a weird, awkward, me forgetting words. This probably isn't our favorite thing ever. This week, we say goodbye to the most famous official in sports, at least active, Angel Hernandez, finally retiring.
I feel like Ed Hochuley's number 1 overall.
Oh, is he still running?
No, he's not active anymore.
I don't think so.
I said active, I think, just to.
Yeah.
Because you're right.
I don't know. There's
the NFL,
there might be a
NFL
conversation for Scott Foster.
Scott Foster's made himself quite popular over the last 15 years, but I think Hochuley's got a longer tenure. So maybe that's where.
I mean, every sport has their infamous refs. So you got.
Oh, what about Michael Buffer?
What?
The
announcer?
Let's get ready to.
Don't.
No, doesn't count.
Are you trying to get his copyright claimed? He'll probably sue us. I probably wouldn't even be able to post this one if you do the whole thing.
Rumble.
I'm sorry, man. But
isn't his brother like the UFC guy?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And supposedly, the way I heard it was they didn't even like know each other until they both had those jobs.
because they're both half siblings, so their dad was fucking around throughout the country,
Well,
and
that's how America was founded.
But they both both ended up with basically the exact same job.
Yeah,
Yes.
that part is really weird.
So what? Bruce Buffer?
Maybe they just really had a
Yeah, I
fucking
think
voice.
that's right.
Okay, name
Yeah.
wrong.
Michael Bruce.
Michael and Bruce Buffer, who
Oh no,
are half
I was
got-
half
but
siblings.
Michael's the one we all know from Fight.
He's the one you're supposed to fear.
Okay,
Yes.
he's apparently a
He's
copyright.
litigious as F.
Okay, I see.
More so than Disney, I would think.
Um,
But anyways, yeah. So Angel Hernandez, if you don't remember earlier this year, he struck White Langford out on 3 pitches that were about a plate and a half away from the strike zone.
and some might argue crushed his confidence and idea of what a batter's box really was, and
He was
is the main culprit for his slow start.
he was fine after that. Anyways, he won't be missed. We'll find out who's the new worst guy and start picking on him. And
Joe West already nominated himself.
isn't he gone? I thought he retired
Okay,
like 5
never
years
mind.
ago.
Well, he's number 1 overall too now.
He's always been, him and Hernandez have kind of been 1A, 1B in baseball. Our baseball umpire conscious lives.
Are we about to get umpires we like? I don't want that. I gotta have one guy we hate, right?
Well, see, the thing is, you can I don't mind if they're just like crazy and wild just to get the calls right.
What about Tony Brothers? You know how Tony Brothers in the NBA has been getting caught up on like some of the shit that Jeff Teague stitched him out for on his podcast.
Yep.
So, like, and for the listeners, it's essentially stories about him eyeballing young ladies in the crowds of basketball games, then making comments to the players.
Trying to fit in.
Amongst other douchebag behavior, that really feels like it sticks out notably. So you kind of have the NBA sets it up where they get to act like a diva on their main stage. The baseball does too, but they've sort of limited it, brought it back in as much as they could.
I mean, to be fair, the MLB has been trying to get rid of Angel Hernandez for a while. He filed some kind of lawsuit claiming racist treatment from the league. So my guess is they finally settled on a number and got him out as quickly as they could.
I think that part of that case actually, he kind of lost that case. I don't know if it was official loss or if it was a settlement, but
That's right. My thinking is he settled for a lot less than whatever he was gonna try to get.
Yeah, I saw people joking about how the trial he had sued for racism, but essentially lost because he was actually as bad at his job as, like, they could prove that he was as bad at his job as he was.
We have the data, actually. And that's what's frustrating. And we talked about it earlier this year that MLB removed the strike zone from what the players are looking at in the dugout because they were tired. The umpires complained about not wanting to know when they hooked up. So that's anyways, good riddance. Goodbye, Angel. Hopefully I never hear from him again. And he lives
So he's just immediately done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, his last game was 2-3 weeks ago.
Nice.
Bless, not stress.
No one's gonna miss him
Nope.
except Joe West.
R.I.P. Bozo.
And then in other baseball news, it broke this morning, and I guess it's just official all of a sudden.
Tough day for people coding stat websites.
No kidding. Baseball has assimilated or integrated the Negro League stats, which is both good and kind of nebulous for what that means. As far as there's a lot of like average stats that are tough because they weren't playing the same number of official games and all that kind of nonsense. But anyways, I'm just glad. I mean, I don't know how they were supposed to do it. It kind of just seemed like a PR move more than anything, if I'm being honest with you, because they've already all those stats are there and they're filed. You can look and see how does this compare if you want to. But I guess now they just put them all on the same list.
So, like, if I would have gone to Baseball Reference, I could have looked up all of these players.
You should have been able to, I believe, because it's all in the Hall of Fame anyways. But I think baseball over the last few years has just been trying to pull in all baseball to be in the MLB Hall of Fame or whatever.
Well, I'm happy they did it because it's nice. I mean, if it's a sport as old, they're in a rare case because it's a very rare situation that they're old enough to have to do this mostly, right?
Yeah.
Because like I actually just got this in the mail last Friday. This is like how it started for basketball, the Black Fives, and it was just a long time between the end of the 1800s and the basically the 1950s. By the time integration actually happens in pro basketball, they're just traveling fivesomes, and essentially the Harlem Globetrotters are obviously spawned from this and shit like that. So it's an interesting one. And then of course basketball has been arguing for a while now that the ABA stats should be integrated into the main NBA historical data, which I would love because it's always annoying to fiddle with on the computer. And I'm sure we could probably organize it and color code it to where we could still sort of make the difference out.
Even Google Sheets has like a filter option. You just sort and filter. But
Sports Reference has done a great job of keeping their site like pretty well maintained, and they sort of reinvent the wheel every now and again to make it a more palatable thing to read because it is a lot of just data. Yeah.
But yeah, and so basically, I think the crux of the only issue that I think that this comes with is so the way they kept their stats, because they would only play they'd play all summer, but most of their games were just against like not Negro League teams. They're just against like teams in cities that existed. So they would play. They only keep stats for the games, I believe, where they played against the other Negro League teams. So you have someone hit 400 over 20, 30 games. That's not too crazy.
Yeah.
But that's not over 150, 160 games. And so that's where I think is the only thing where you got to start looking at how you're listing it, I guess.
It's all from an era where I feel like most people don't care what the white players were doing either.
Well, I mean, I think that's where you get your best average ever.
Yeah, but that's, and like I said, I don't know how baseball fans feel about it. I know in basketball, I can't bring up anybody from 1960 on, really, and expect anyone to take that player seriously. So.
It is tough. It's obviously a different conversation because then you could also say, that guy got that average in a league that was arguably more talented and better, So it's hard. I just don't know how I don't really understand it. I just I haven't looked at it enough to wrap my head around how they're presenting it. But it sounds like it's just those are now logged in, slotted in. So if someone in the Negro Leagues had more home runs than you, now they've got more home runs than you, which that one seems fine because it's like a pretty standard 1-for-1 type stat.
But Barry's still in there, right?
I'm sorry?
Barry Bonds is still number one all-time home run leader?
Probably with an asterisk.
Oh, across all the...
Okay, but with an asterisk on it?
Across the entire history of professional baseball? Yeah, he should. He definitely should be.
But, they haven't, removed that,
I don't think...
I guess that's...
Well, there's no way anyone would have been able to hit more than that back then, just in sheer amount of games played, I would think, but...
Yeah, so I guess that's I didn't think that Barry was replaced. I just was like, what have they done with Barry over the last 10 years or so with these numbers? Do they just put an asterisk on it? Is it back to who was the
okay, so here we go. Like if I sort by OPS, Josh Gibson, who's like the most famous Negro League player, he's now number one over Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Lou Gehrig. But if we go to home runs, still Barry. I don't think we get anyone from the Negro Leagues until you drop down to outside of the top 25. So
okay, that's not even that bad.
But that's just because they weren't playing as many games. So who knows? If I look at a home run rate, that could be a little different. But anyways, it's an interesting topic. I think it's cool that they're doing more to include and recognize.
Yankee fans are
kind of hit us
particularly perturbed?
I don't know. I haven't really gotten a good feel over
because it's like they already have half the problematic people in sports watching as a fan, and then they also this takes a lot of their dudes down. So it feels like a double whammy for for the Yankee fans, if I was to guess.
Yeah, I saw a lot of talk about Ty Cobb being moved down because of this. And
Oh, no.
and there's a lot of insinuations.
I'm trying to think of what stat of his
reaction.
would even move. I think
Batting
average is probably the only one. Maybe on base. Yeah, nope. He's actually at a pretty low on base comparatively.
I think it's just the batting average. Like he's the batting average king, or was.
Yeah.
Now it's Josh Gibson.
Yeah. He's dropped down to number 2 there. You're right.
This is why I'm glad that in basketball I can find the best players from the 60s or 50s and be like, all right, so they were the best players on the team and they averaged 29% shooting.
So yeah, for reference, Josh Gibson 653 games. Mike Trout's already played 1,518 in his. So that's why some of these average stats people are gonna say, like I said, nebulous might be the right word, I think. But what are you gonna do? That's the way it is now. That doesn't really matter at all.
Per game versus totals needs to be a fight.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's done WAR for the Negro Leagues yet. I'm sure somebody has.
Well, you could argue that's what most of the 60s was about.
What I didn't look at was pitching.
God damn it.
All the talk about hitting.
Yeah, dude. Who cares about the pitch? This is the dead ball there, right? I thought we already restricted the dead ball. Did they have a livelier ball? Do we know how dead their ball was?
I don't know anything about. Yeah, I haven't really read much about the league.
No, I mean, but to be fair, it's poorly documented in a lot of ways because most people actually, it's not always that problematic. A lot of people just didn't think sports would ever get to the level it's gotten to. So history kind of recorded them as more or less like fun activities that people did for a while. And then shit got real.
It was a show. It was something to go see, like a traveling circus. So
yeah, baseball made it a much more real thing in America, and then it all sort of just
advertisers were like, what if we did this 162 days a year?
Yeah, and then there was, and you talk about all the fucking corporate people who could like get good talent out of college because these players would like want to play for their teams, their established teams and shit. So yeah, it definitely worked out.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and take that opportunity to do a little transition here with
transition.
Oh god, one second.
Give this album a listen.
Help me now! I'm being bombarded! Sonic vibrations, swirling conspiracy theories, flesh-eating low-end, mindless, nonsensical cliches with aspirations to mediocrity.
Oh, R.I.P. to the legend. Yeah,
Oh,
Bill Walton has passed on. Fairly surprising news to come out of the world.
Yeah, for sure.
So he did are we calling this a Chadwick now? Is that what we?
Or a Norm?
Norm did it too. Norm did it before Chadwick, didn't he?
Probably.
Somewhere it was around the same time. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, to be fair, if I was a celebrity, I would probably also be interested in a similar way of handling something as severe as cancer. I don't know that I've seen how long he had it. He had been sort of working through it, I guess, for a bit now. He actually finished doing the Pac-12 season. And then funny enough, ironically enough, died a day after the Pac-12 officially ended.
Right.
Which is, we're talking about a UCLA legend. We're talking about a kid born and raised along the Pacific Northwest throughout all of his life, really. From college, I think he's born and raised South California. I think he's San Diego boy.
And sounds like it.
San Diego boy, then goes to LA for college.
Mesa.
La Mesa. I think La Mesa South.
Sounds like it would be.
Yeah, it definitely looks
If I
like
had
it
to
is.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, it's about it's the southernmost county.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right outside of San Diego, so you're on the money with that.
Right, because that's how they got him over to the Clippers, and then the Clippers thing kind of went really badly, and that's a whole historical story. Let's see if this is where I know most of my information. The Bill Walton Back from the Dead book, fantastic book. Some of the interesting things I think about this guy: huge stuttering problem when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Learned how to talk because of like Chick Hearn and Vince Scully and people like that, because obviously he would have been listening to Laker and Dodger broadcasts back in the Dizzy. That's why he actually always has sounded like an announcer and sort of perfectly was melded into the announcer's world. But I think that's where you'll get a little bit of difference of opinion on how great Bill Walton was as far as the announcer goes. I think that he was a bigger deal early on. I watched him a little bit as a child, but by the time I was watching basketball, they had already kind of pushed him back into the college basketball world because his antics was a little too much for the regular big broadcast. He also had a famous moment where he basically called a guy shitty, where the guy could hear him as the guy was checking into a crucial game. There was just a lot of moments for Bill Walton there, but cherished Bill Russell. Most of this book is dedicated to Bill Russell as much as anything. As much as he talks about the Grateful Dead, and every single chapter is a Grateful Dead lyric, starts with it. So he's truly the greatest Deadhead of all time. He talks about Bill Russell almost as much as the Grateful Dead in here. So very interesting guy. His career, probably one of the biggest peaks of all time. It's fun that this happens, right after Nikola Jokic has ascended to where he's at, because that's probably the closest historical comparison. But Bill Walton was much more of a defensive monster because he was just a big, long, strong son of a bitch. But Bill Walton essentially, like Tim Duncan did for so long, that was essentially the model. Was Bill Walton was standing up near the free throw line and commanding all these players to motion around you, knowing that you can always make the offensive play if you need to, but that you are setting the table for others essentially now as the de facto point guard. So that is probably the biggest contribution to basketball for Bill Walton. But interesting dude. Like I said, John Wooden, his relationship with John Wooden, because John Wooden's a stubborn, conservative old Christian man, or was. And Bill Walton was as radical of a liberal as you could possibly be. And they clashed in a very beautiful way that I think, especially nowadays, is very, very relevant to a political climate of America. So definitely some interesting stuff. I recommend Back from the Dead if anybody wants to learn more about Bill Walton. I think for autobiographies, he's one of the few guys where I think you can actually trust his word. Because I think he actually had Tourette's. I don't think he could actually tell a lie. I think everything he thought just came out.
Yeah, every interview I've seen or heard of him where he's not on an actual broadcast is just either an introduction and you might get a question in, or he's just gonna go for 5, 10, 15 minutes for a bit. You're just gonna let him.
It was to the point where most people knew that they would I forget who would do it, but someone would call him.
I know Levitt's Hard show. They would I don't know if they were betting or if they were always keeping track. But I remember a specific one where they're all cheering after he hits a certain amount of minutes.
Yes, it was Levin's Hard thing. Yeah, they called him intentionally knowing that they weren't going to ask him any questions, that they just basically introduced the conversation. In fact, I think they had a starter question and they never got to it. That's how impressive he was.
And he would just run with it. Just crazy, yeah. But obviously, he brought Portland their only championship. That's worth noting.
1977.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the MVP that year?
Oh, yeah. He would have been back-to-back MVPs that year,
He was not
right?
MVP that year. He won Finals MVP that year and then won MVP the next season.
Oh, you're looking at the reference?
I'm on there. Well, I'm looking at a reference.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because he's injured for a good chunk of this season, I believe.
But I would be interested to know if there's any other player that's won MVP and Sixth Man of the Year, because that's pretty damn impressive.
In fact, I think really the Sixth Man of the Year is also a part of his legacy, because don't think we really cared that much. Historically, I don't think people were going to care that much. And then you get this reclamation story. By this point, to summarize history, Walton has already basically destroyed his entire lower legs. Both of them.
Yeah, he had his ankles fused.
Feet are completely destroyed. I mean, and this is a historical thing for this guy. Not only did Portland absolutely botch and fuck up his career, which they completely deserve blame for, he was born with many, many of issues that were only exacerbated by the poor quality of medical care that 1970s basketball teams provided. And the mentality of just grind, right? Those people didn't think about players, longevity. They just thought about winning every game, right? So ultimately, that was probably one of the other things. So he ends up getting a free agency deal, but I think it's being sort of a trade to the Clippers. But then at this point, the Clippers are in the midst of selling their team to the dumbass that we would go on to know as Donald Sterling. Sterling ends up playing there for a little bit, but then I think they ended up blowing the team up so badly because the league ends up forcing the Clippers to trade basically their entire roster for Bill Walton because Portland bitches about the decision for Bill Walton to leave. But this is a year and a half after he's played with them, I believe. He's literally blaming them for his career being derailed completely. Like we're talking about LeBron and the Cavs fractured relationship. This might have been the most fractured relationship of all time. So it's pretty amazing that eventually that would get fixed too. Of course, 40, 50 years passed before that really was a thing. But anyway, San Diego Clippers get him. He tries his damnedest to make the Clippers work. Doesn't really work. His body starts to fail him again. And then I think he has to come back and either play for the Lakers or for the Celtics. He chooses the Celtics.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you're saying he had the choice.
I think he had a choice between the Lakers and Celtics too, if I remember correctly. But then yes, he does play for the Celtics, barely. Plays just long enough to win that great 86 title, and then it's pretty much over after that.
6 Man of the Year.
Yep, 6 Man of the Year title. That's one of the most dominant teams of all time as well. His 77 team was considered like the best starting five of all time because of how well they meshed. But then the 86 Celtics are often brought up as
I got a team for you.
What?
14 Spurs? Come on.
I mean, this 14 Spurs have an interesting conversation. I just think it deflates a little bit because they were too motivated. Like, it's hard to – like, if you were to redo this thing in a hypothetical where you got all the past champions – how do we talk about motivation? Because 14 Spurs is like uber motivated. Like, I don't think there's a more motivated group in the history of basketball. And they get the revenge match. They got everything they wanted, and they fucking poured it on everybody that year. So that's an interesting one. And it's like, do they still have that vigor and that fire without?
That's fair.
So I've always thought that's a tough one with those hypotheticals.
Another fun note about Bill Walton. His brother Bruce played for the Dallas Cowboys and lost Super Bowl 10 against the Steelers.
That's true. I forgot about
So
his brother was
the only brothers to ever play in the Super Bowl and the NBA Finals.
Still
didn't know that.
Oh.
That makes sense. Yeah, but yes, and actually that would have been in the book too. But that I did forget all about that because he had a weird relationship with his family.
And there's so much with Bill Walton. There's just so much to know and to take in. There's so much content. He was out there a lot. There's a lot.
I haven't listened to it yet, but I can guarantee you that the road tripping podcast that he just made dedicated to him, that's Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson's podcast, I would definitely recommend that because Richard Jefferson is best friends with Luke Walton.
Okay.
And so basically Richard grew up in Bill's house. As a kind of a part of that, as a side part of that family, and so he knows Mr. Walton very well too. So I have to imagine there's some hilarious fucking stories that are probably going to be spit out in that podcast.
G, whatever. G, yeah.
I don't remember where I got that from. I'm pretty sure that happened during the pandemic. but I just knew the instant I saw it, it had to be mine forever. And now I have it forever. And thank you, Patrick, for uploading it here so I didn't have to.
Yeah, I didn't feel like that one needed subtitles.
No, but and props on the subtitles for the first one because I've watched it enough to where I have it basically memorized.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's a lot of words that make sense in a linear fashion.
No. But yeah. Now, current today basketball, there's a lot.
Now,
lot
all right,
to update from
awkward
last
shift
time.
to the Celtics.
Oh, yeah, nice. I like that.
Because he won.
That
with
was
the
his
Celtics.
last team. Yeah.
So,
I guess so. Yeah, we can go there.
So
Start in the Eastern Conference.
It's just easier because we missed 2 weeks. Last time we got
it's over.
that too. Last time we talked, this team hadn't even. No, I think they had just finished off the Cavs. Last time we had talked. And I think the Pacers-Knicks series had maybe just ended. Maybe that was it. Maybe the Pacers-Knicks had just ended. And we had just found out this was going to – oh, no. I remember. Game 1 of this series would have happened. And then Game 1 of the Mavericks-Wolves would have happened the night we would have recorded. Anyway. Boom. Doesn't matter. Celtics take the Cavs right the fuck out of the equation. Donovan Mitchell essentially more or less steps away from the series. Then they get the Pacers, who have outlasted the New York Knicks. The Knicks played very well, but there's, injuries suck, and they had only so many players. Pacers had so many players. It happens. They end up taking the series in Game 7. Tyrese Halliburton gets to have his big moment, gets to wear the Reggie Miller choke T-shirt, has good fun with the Knicks fans. But that's the highlight of his season because even though he helped make Game 1 and 2, I believe he played Game 2, fairly good.
Oh,
He
not so much Game 2, but yeah.
Yeah, or no, Game 2 was the ass whooping. So Game 1 was Game 1.
It would have to been Game 3.
They almost won. They almost stole Game 1, and then they really fumbled that.
Should have.
Fumbled Game 4 as well. Had the lead for most of Game 4, and they lost that without Halliburton. Andrew Nembhard certainly
they didn't score the last 3.5 minutes of the game,
which is honestly more of a credit to Boston, I would say, than anything.
That just feels like one of those combinations of like as it snowballs, and you're just going to be tighter and tighter, and your season's slipping away and away. And it's going to get worse and worse if you're not that team.
And your one tough shot maker isn't on the court, So that's the hard part. So the Celtics are in the NBA Finals, and there's some people considering this as one of the most dominant runs of all time, and there's some people who are saying that this is the easiest path a conference champion has ever had to the finals. Now, I did not do my homework,
but it's definitely not the most difficult.
I didn't do my homework. I also agree with that because there's like if you just went through the Eastern Conference history alone, we could probably find some better candidates.
Jordan's Bulls had some easy ones. LeBron had some cakewalks.
That was what I was talking about, especially when the Heat first formed. The East really there was paper tigers. There was the Pacers, there was the Bulls, there were paper tigers.
Hawks.
The Hawks were big time. That was a little bit later, but there was a lot of paper tigerdom going on in the Eastern Conference for a bit there. So I do agree with that being something I would have to research, but fortunate is what I would call it. But you could also say they're unfortunate because now they've gotten through a first round series against do I even remember who they played? They won 4-1, right? They fucking choked the game at home. The Heat, right. So, the Heat without Butler, they win that one in 5. Then you get the Cavs basically without Donovan Mitchell for the better part of the series. Take that in 5, right? I think that's 5.
Yeah.
And then you take this one as a sweep with Halliburton missing 2.5 games.
2 games.
So they're 12.
Did he finish
2?
So, even 2 games. I think
they just pulled him early because either way, it doesn't matter. Minor points here. So essentially, it's very fortunate. And now they're going to sit there and look at 9 days before they play again?
June 9th is game 1, right? So today's the 29th.
Even longer.
Yeah, 10.
So,
11?
You could argue that this is setting them up for success. I think that it's very obvious that they're still the best.
Why are
They're the most talented team in basketball. They are easily the most talented team in basketball when they're healthy. But this does put them in just a very awkward position, and it's kind of funny. It's kind of poetic if they win the championship that they'll go through this, but for them to basically be gifted a finals run and still sort of have the KP injury thing lingering over their head, still have the Jason Tatum hasn't looked as the most dominant, but even though he was fairly dominant during this run, Jaylen Brown kind of steals his thunder in the last game and wins the Eastern Conference Player of the Year award, which is our conference finals player of the series, whatever. I think it's Kobe Bryant award or no.
That would be strange.
No, Kobe's the Western Conference winner.
Is it LeBron?
No, I don't think it's. Is it Bill? It's not Bill Russell though, right?
Would it be Jordan?
It's Michael. It's Michael, right?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Probably Michael.
Unless they want to give it to
While we're looking for
Robert
that, I did want to
Did he ever
present
do it in the
something
East?
to you, Bethke.
Yes.
Just so we can get some more like advanced metrics in here. Of course, this is more like, you can adjust anything to make any kind of argument. We know that. But there is an injury adjusted record for average opponents, right? And since 1984, this Celtics team has had the easiest schedule in terms of injury adjusted. So players,
I see.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
all three of the teams they've played have lost their best player, so that's significant.
So
Well, I think
the
he's saying
second
even with those guys not being out, right?
no. This is with
That's the
accounting.
injury replacement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
it's
Sorry.
basically accounting for.
I thought
the
he was
injuries.
saying it would still be the easiest, even if those guys were in.
No.
That would be funny though. That's a
that
different
would be-
argument.
Yeah, but their average opponent wins with their significant stars being missed would come out to about 37.3 wins. So that is not good, obviously. Now the next group of teams, just to present to you guys, the 85 Lakers, the 2007 Cavaliers, the 87
Yeah.
Lakers,
The 07 Cavaliers could be the
84
worst finals team
Lakers.
of all time.
Damn. So the 80s Western Conference is actually, now that I think about it, the 80s Western Conference is an interesting one to look at. Yeah.
So just to keep that in mind, I guess, whenever we present the full picture of how this Celtics run.
Yeah, 07 Cavs sticks out a lot, but that's an interesting one too because they have to beat the basically the the 3 or 4 two-time Eastern Conference champions. But then they had been
Was a year
to the
removed?
Pistons. The
Heat won in 06, so
The Heat won in 06, but they still beat the Pistons to get there. So the Pistons had been in the conference finals every year for like 6 years, I think, up to that point. And then that was the last year before that whole group dismantled. So damn. Okay, there you go. That
Tough
makes
run.
sense, though. Yeah, and the 80s Western Conference makes a lot of sense, too, because I think they got hit harder with the initial expansion saturation. In the Eastern Conference, you have a whole lot of – there's like Bucks teams that probably win a championship if the Celtics and Lakers don't exist. You know what I mean? You have the Sixers kind of battling through.
Still a heavy money-driven league, right? I don't know when the cap gets implemented, but
Yeah, Pacers were still Pacers had there was a lot of different groups there that probably had an interesting 80s that were minimalized by the Celtics and Lakers.
our whole life it's pretty much just been the West dominates, and then either Jordan, LeBron, or the Magic Celtics.
Jimmy for a few years here.
The Magic Celtics team that won one title, and that one Pistons team that snuck through as well.
Yeah. So the Pistons have happened twice if you think about that longevity, right? Because then there was the Isaiah Pistons, and then there was the Chauncey Billups once. So yeah,
And I'm gonna send a link to that so you can see who had the easiest path to the finals with before adjusted injuries, just before adjusted 2 injuries, and then after. So you're gonna see the Lakers pop up a lot on both sides because of that expansion.
Yeah. No, that's fair because I think, like I said, I'm pretty sure Western Conference got hit harder there.
And last year's Nuggets also pretty high on this list. So
Yeah, but that's before you account for injury.
Yeah. I was about to say, I don't think they had injuries. I think the Wolves were just too young. Lakers were just not built really
it's
that
still
well.
worth noting when we have conversations about at least next season.
That is interesting because I don't even remember who. Oh, their second round opponent was the
Suns,
Suns, who ended up being the most competent, but then that group didn't even want to play with each other apparently. So either way,
Fun. Thanks. Caesar. I like that.
Yes, that was great. Great data. So the question then becomes, if the Celtics were to advance and play the team who's currently leading the Western Conference, before we get into that, and beat them, does this narrative change? Or are we talking about them winning the easiest champion of the championship of all time?
Most of the online people say it's just Luka, Kyrie, and a bunch of nobodies if the Mavs lose.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
Which is disrespecting my boy PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr.
So
but I get it.
I think Lively might actually be the key to
the third best player on the team. Honestly,
all right, well, now you guys are jumping in. Now you guys have stepped on it, but that's fair. So the answer is, if the situation the hypothetical I just laid out came about, you guys would not be on the Celtics won the easiest title of all time train.
No, I would. No, I would say they had the easiest path to get there. Right? Like I would say, listen, it's one thing to separate winning the championship from actually your path getting to said championship. To me, they can be connected, but they're not exactly the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because you look at what the West is hell this playoffs. All right, it has been an actual struggle.
Very difficult.
It's been very difficult. And then if you look just based on the records of the teams in the West, if you were just to have forget conference, right? Forget conference. The majority of the teams in the playoffs would all come from the West if you were just to eliminate conferences and just go with the best 8 teams, right? Or the best 16 teams. You would have majority West and a few East. So for me, I'm just like, listen, the Celtics would still have the easiest path. And if they win, well, guess what? They're not as expended as their counterparts who have been through hell of a series. I mean, yeah, you look at the Mavs, they're up 3-1. All those games have been close, for the exception of like the Mavericks pulling away in Game 3. But they have gone to war with the Clippers, with OKC, and then of course we saw what the Timberwolves had to do against Denver, right? Like that was no walk in the park for them either. So you're getting battle tested on one side, and the other side it just doesn't feel like they are, and they should have been, especially in that Pacers series to me, because I'm like, come on, you've led, you could have at least won one or two of those games, in my opinion. But I don't know. I'm still going to slander the Celtics regardless if they win or lose.
As is anyone. They're one of it's funny because I think that people get really jealous and pissy about the Lakers and the LeBron attention, but I still feel like more people root against the Celtics when it comes down to it. And it's kind of impressive that that's just the way
because Boston sports fans suck.
Breaking what?
Not actually breaking, really. I just went and did the math. It would honestly be a pretty even split between East and West if you went off the end of the year records. I think you get one more West team than you do East, but it's not actually that different.
Yeah, this year was competent. I mean, you had 2 under 500 teams on the
problem with discussing it that way is if the West teams are mostly playing the West teams and these teams are mostly playing the East teams, and you don't really, Anyways.
No, fair. And then so Caesar basically summarized where we're at with the Western Conference. Of course, the Wolves did take down the defending champions, so we don't want to jump over that too much.
They're just going to have to break history.
They're going to have to break some more history. You mean more history? Because they are the first. They led the biggest comeback ever in a Game 7 to win their series against the Nuggets. So boom, they've already done. Look, there you go. There's already a little history in the making.
A little different.
It's a little different. Mavs, of course, went on to control a Thunder team that just basically can't rebound, and that was pretty noticeable over the pace of that series. It was almost damning. They played a really good series. They shot really well. They showed the promise of why they could be a potential dynasty moving forward. But ultimately, again, rebounding, very important part of playing the game of basketball. So Caesar talked about a little bit. Mavs up 3-1. Mavs took a toss-up Game 1 that I think the Wolves probably blew more than the Mavs won. Just a little bit. Luka steals Game 2 from literally the throat of Rudy Gobert.
That's been the biggest storyline of this whole. And it's going to be the biggest storyline is Luka versus Gobert, and then all the offshoots of that.
The slander of Gobert continues, and I'm here for it.
Rudy Gobert just getting torn apart despite the fact that he's playing pretty well and the team's playing pretty well.
He just won his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award.
Should have been Wemby.
It is tough, and it's funny because obviously Draymond Green's going viral almost every night reacting to this, which is amazing because
Not a side everyone else wants to be on, but they're begrudgingly.
Well, let's be honest. If there's one thing about Draymond Green's career and his boastfulness and his comments and the things that most people probably don't like about him, even if you do, most people, you can agree, most don't like what Draymond does. However, I think one of the things that history will be pretty unanimous about was that his number of defensive MVPs versus Rudy Gobert's number of defensive MVPs is skewed in a direction that makes the math nerds look stupid and the ball watchers look great. Unfortunately, we want to have a happy world where we're learning good things. So all we're doing is reinforcing the ball don't lie kind of guys, and then just making the people who I don't have a problem with it.
It's just a funny phrase.
Well, no, not that one. There's a guy who's actually, or no, it's ball don't stop.
Oh,
where he's like, he does it. He breaks down basketball, but he doesn't like numbers. He only talks about vibes and skills and stuff.
So you're gonna
he
talk disrespect on ball don't lie. We're gonna have some problems.
No, he is the ultimate. Only watches film hoops fan. And he's actually been pretty successful at like interacting and working his way up the chain because the hoopers of the NBA love it. It's a pretty funny thing, but it's in a different side. The Wolves kind of blew game 3 as well. I know that game ended up being more decisive at that. Felt like that was a game that they had within their grasp as well. But then guess what? Karl-Anthony Towns can't hit a fucking thing, right? You're looking at
the best big shooting man of all time and just breaks 8 in front of Dirk.
Immediately gets out there and looks absolutely dreadful. I think that they have a voodoo curse put on the Dirk logo because that boy had his whole power stolen from him. He was missing even the bunnies. It was bad. And then last night, the Mavs failed to carpe some diem, as I would put it. Kyrie Irving missed some critical free throws, blew some easy shots at the rim,
could have used some of those free throws.
It was the worst game he's played all. I feel like it's his worst game of the postseason.
It was, and after he started the game by basically looking at a reporter and saying this is their Super Bowl, so the game for us. So it's unfortunate.
I mean, that's true. That is.
It was true.
That is the most. If the Wolves didn't come out as well as they possibly could for that game, then that's a problem.
And it was still just a 5-point victory.
I mean, yeah, this whole series has been pretty close.
Yeah.
And it was a lot
closer than I thought.
And it allowed me to look at the old Andrew Bynum quote about closing out games. And I know Andrew Bynum's a weird
They say it's the hardest one to win.
They do. But he said, I think they're actually really easy. You just got to go out there and play with more energy than the other team, and they give up.
Yeah.
And I've always enjoyed that theory.
Did that to the Suns a couple of years ago.
Yes, and I do think that there was something to that. I just think that it was fun. I always think it's an oversimplification that's amazingly hilarious.
I mean, that's a lot of times. If you are the better team talent-wise, you really do just need to survive those first couple punches in the mouth, and then you can usually put a team down. Most teams aren't built to be withstood.
In football, we see it a lot in games, right? I remember there was a couple years back, I think 2 years now, there was a Cowboys-Washington game where it was kind of like, it wasn't that bad, but then all of a sudden there was some fuck-ups, and the Washington players were over there swinging on each other. All of a sudden that game's 50-10 or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit does play into a factor here. And especially the Wolves. It felt like the Wolves were very cocky, very confident coming out of this series against the Nuggets, and they drastically underestimated the ability of great shot makers to hit shots.
Probably not
and
a good idea.
Rim runners and big men.
Probably not a good idea to call a 22-year-old the next Michael Jordan. Let's cool it. Let him earn his stripes a little bit. He's really good, but come on.
We've been calling him the next Michael Jordan since we found out what his build and frame was. That's just the way that the NBA world kind of does with people. And so unfortunately or fortunately, he's held on to the mantle of next Jordan longer than most prospects. just like a few guys have come before him, except for he actually is the guard version. We're not talking about like LeBron. We're not talking about
not the
chasing
entity, but the player.
We're talking about the player. There have been many of them. Harold Miner is the original Michael Jordan, next Michael Jordan. If y'all
we need to talk about the personality of the next Michael Jordan, because I don't think he has that psychotic personality that MJ had.
Well, that's a good thing, probably. But I mean, we'll see how it develops as he ages.
I feel like he's only 22. Well, if he loses this year, this might be the beginning of his villain. Well,
I thought they played well. I thought he answered questions really well after the press conference, where he could have been a little more stupid and arrogant about it. I thought that he had more fun with it. He did a good job of kind of playing into it a little bit without going full
I've enjoyed
bulletin board material.
Him and Cat's post game stuff together.
I want to get your opinion on this, because it feels like we've been a little bit more on the Wolf centric side. What has Dallas been doing well? Like, I know you've seen the game, so what, for you, have they been doing well to get to this point?
There's a lot of things. I think the biggest thing for me, though, is the amount of quality minutes you get out of the role players. PJ Washington, I don't think has had as great of a shooting series, but they're almost all the timely ones. I mean, it's getting very Robert Horry-esque with him in some of these. And then you have Gafford kind of playing above his playing weight, in my opinion, so far this series. You have obviously Derek Lively, who's made a massive impact and growth over the last couple weeks. Jaden Hardy has replaced Tim Hardaway's minutes. Where the fuck did that come from? But awesome to see.
Ever since Tim Hardaway's dad said that his son was the best shooter on the team, all of a sudden he can't shoot the basketball.
Stunned by it. Derek Jones Jr. just keeping up the pace that he's been at for the most part. I don't know, maybe if his nights have been a little off lately. Josh Green is always out there for positive minutes. It feels like you get Kleba back just in time to get Lively back, hopefully. Of course, the Lively injury we can't step over. He basically got a concussion. They called it a neck sprain, but I think it was probably just a concussion. They set him out for the rest of the game, set him out all of last night.
I don't know if it was a beat writer or someone with a team actually tweeted out that he was in concussion protocol and then deleted it.
Yeah, because I saw a lot of people specifically saying he wasn't, so that's probably why. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, they probably were a little nefarious. I don't know that he got hit hard enough to have an actual concussion. It might have just been close enough to where they were very, very scared and cautious about it.
Yeah.
And then I think they handled it appropriately.
I mean, I wonder what that's like if it's a tie series, if that same decision's made. But
or if they're down, yeah.
You're up 3-0, it's like, go ahead and just...
Well, they were up 2-0 at the time, right?
No, that was
they were up 2-0 because this happened at the end of Game 3, or happened during Game 3.
It happened in the middle of Game 3. They hung on.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. So you're up 3-0 when you make the decision not to go ahead and play.
Not to play him, yes, the next night.
Yeah, but you saw how dicey it got the moment.
You also get Kleba back, which probably helped.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, thank God, because if we had to sub play him for 10 minutes, I don't think we win Game 3, and I definitely don't think we would have won Game 4 if Dwight Powell plays double-digit minutes.
Yeah, and so, I mean, honestly, if we're talking about the potential of a historical comeback here, that is kind of the one thing that squashes it to me, is the fact that now the Mavericks we'll see, should be able to put Lively, Kleba, and Gafford out whenever they so please. Of course, foul trouble, other injuries, who knows what could happen, but ultimately, in theory, they now have that ability. I think that gives them enough to manage to squeeze out one of these wins. But because it's been so close, and because I felt like it's been the clutch moments for the Wolves that they have struggled the most in, even in Game 1, when I was kind of reviewing things to just see if there's anything I wanted to add to my notes today, I remembered that there's a Mike Conley pass where he just kind of throws it back into the arms of Gafford, and then I think Luka's next to Gafford. So it's immediately from going from a fast break potential opportunity for the Wolves ends up going into the hands of Luka Doncic to help seal the game. So it's one of those things where...
And not just that, there's also been some really shoddy passes from Anthony Edwards in the first 2 games especially. And then, like, I don't know, maybe it's just the way he plays. But, like, the way he plays, like, he just, he doesn't have the confidence. Like, he doesn't have the confidence to, like, He made some passes that you just scratch your head and like, what were you trying to do in this moment?
A little overzealous, I think, has been most of them. It seems like he's had some that are a little too hot, a little too high, all that good stuff. Just the opposite, though. I think while Luka has looked mostly good defensively, I think for the very most part looked good. I think he's excelled at the passing lanes. Like he was doing amazing this year already. I think he got into the top whatever of steals all this season. But he was absolutely incredible this series so far at ruining opportunities.
I remember where I heard it or read it that someone was theorizing about whether he might struggle on defense because he sees the plays he would make, but that's not the way other people play basketball, you know?
No, he's fucking slow. He'll tell you that.
Watch me.
Yeah, he even said
the,
it
like
so
types
much
of passes he'll make, angles he'll use. Like,
he's
differently.
big. He's big and he's slow, but it's okay because we can work with that. We just if he was the point of attack defender that you needed, that was where it was bad. That's why
I will say
guys
this.
were employed.
I will say this though, because I've always just kind of like been like whatever, as long as he's average on the defensive side or just it's a quality help side defender in situations, I'll be happy with that if that's how he peaks on that end. And I think that he's done that in this series where it's like, oh man, he's actually held his weight as much as you could reasonably ask for him to do in these situations. Mm-hmm. I think the best defensive play I've ever seen him make was on that one attempted lob to Rudy Gobert, where he just gets in front of Rudy and meets him at the point, at the highest point of the ball. Yeah, granted, that's more of a bad pass than it is, like an amazing play, but
took a charge
there to make the play. Yeah.
Took a charge,
and he took that charge early. Yeah, he took a charge.
So no, I think Luka's excelled at what he needs to do. I just think overall, when you're looking at it, from what's happening on the court, there's still times where I think they're going to try to attack him. I think it's been really fun for him to take on the challenge of Gobert. I know he kind of had an iffy foul last night that mattered on a defensive play against Gobert towards the end of that game. But ultimately, I think he's done a great job. And really, for me, it's again, the passing lanes. It makes no damn sense for him to be as big and as smart as he is as a passer on the offensive end, but then not be able to produce anything as far as, that's at least some comparative level of using that skill on the defensive end. And he's kind of shut up anybody with that because now it's become such a consistent part of his game. So, yeah, ultimately, I would love to see the Mavericks go into Minnesota and steal it. I think it's going to be very tough. So I do kind of wonder if they're going to have to do it back here in Dallas. I think that the Wolves have all that they need to pull off the historic comeback. They've got role players that can shoot like fucking crazy. They've got all the defense in the world. They match the Mavericks in a lot of the size department. Right?
Imagine if Cat actually starts shooting.
But that's the thing is Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards are they both just gonna turn on a consistent nozzle? Because if that happens, sure, I can believe in history. Because the last time I saw something this crazy happen, it took Kyrie Irving and LeBron James averaging 40 points a night, essentially. So, it's just one of those things.
My counter is that no team that houses Rudy Gobert is allowed to prosper. The basketball gods win them all out.
It's offense. It's like he's getting all this shit for the defense, and it's really not even been the issue. It's just the fact that he's so inept offensively.
He's a non-ISO defender that's getting put on the perimeter against one of the best scorers potentially ever. It's a tough.
Oh, shocker! They fucking hunt matchups in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, and it feels like specifically Luka goes out of his way to find Gobert in in international games and NBA games.
Yeah, and then you have Kyrie on the other end, specifically hunting down Mike Conley.
Well, he's already seen the
Mike's
future.
been that way.
Whatever Kyrie's doing, he's doing because he already saw it and it worked.
Yeah, he's fucking Doctor Strange.
I need Kyrie to be consistent in this next game.
He's looking at the Mythals on the sidelines and he's just like,
I wish
that was last night. As they were losing, he just looked at them and he was like, "This is the way." He's like, this is the one chance, just like Doctor Strange. But all right, that's pretty much basketball right now. Patrick, you did a good job of glorifying one member of the All-NBA teams, but there was many other members of the All-NBA teams.
Not even worth mentioning, honestly.
They were kind of weird this year, too, because the voting thing. But I didn't think there was anything too interesting to talk about. Most of the guys who got it deserved it. So wasn't too much beef there. Any other things to talk about with this series?
I thought, one second, I thought this was going to be Jared Sandler.
How do we feel about
Jared Sandler tweeted out this video from that Luka shot. And you can just see there's a guy in Minnesota on the front court who's kind of like pacing back and forth. He's like opposite of where the benches are. And the minute that Luka steps back, you just see that guy immediately just recognize pure defeat before the shot's even gone up, before it's even close to leaving his hands. Like, I just knew it was over. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, there was a viral picture of Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah, his is pretty funny, too. The minute the switch happened, and he's like, ooh, whoops.
He's like, ooh, I'm not going to be able to switch back over there.
He knew. He knew it was over.
Yeah, I guess it's like, all right.
Yeah, so that brings up the question, was that a travel?
Not in the NBA.
It's the NBA, man. What is a travel in the NBA?
Like, it's just it's a funny one because there's obviously a ton in every game you could probably call, but one that's been slowed down, set to Kanye West, set to whatever else. Like, for it to be that close, you're like, oh, come on, let's get it.
That's a step back for you. That's why we try not to get kids to learn that shit early, because it breaks their brain on how to do it once they get into the leagues.
They're about to watch him do that for 8 more years.
Oh, I know.
I'll tell you right now what the difference between that and the travel is, right? All right? If Theo Pinson is the one doing that, that's travel. If it's Luka, that is not a travel.
And it's obviously still close because it's, when is the ball collected, concretely and all that. It's tough, but.
And that's going by the black and white of the rule book when it's officiated in gray.
Yeah,
that's the way you always have to remember any rule in
the NBA.
And also, do we know who's the crew for tomorrow's game?
Is it not just the same crew for the whole series?
Nope, no. They swap these bad boys out, but they limit it, so it kind of can be repeats.
Because we've already had Tony Brothers, and
I figured there's going to be so many.
One. And then this last one was Scott Foster, so the extender is no longer here, as they like to call him. Please, let me some guy that I never heard of.
Winning by 1 last night. I really needed Kyrie to hit a couple free throws.
Or Luka make that and one, which that 3-point shot was beautiful. Just chucks it up in the air and just makes that.
All right, now let's see. NBA referee assignments. There's an official part of the website that's for this, but guess what? It sucks. Who would have thought NBA.com fucking sucks?
Would it not just say it like the ESPN matchup? I'm going to see it.
Probably, but you would think, hey, the first thing in Google should be what's working, but of course it's not, because it's the NBA.com, which fucking sucks.
You're right. I don't see it here either. Doesn't announce who the
let me see.
Now, the referee's Twitter account doesn't have it either, so I don't think
they haven't announced
officially.
If they haven't announced it yet, I'm worried.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
If I see Tony Brothers on there,
Adam Silver's out there fucking oh my god, I just forgot the character's name. He's out there doing Nick Fury, Samuel Jackson style recruiting of refs for we need one more game.
Angel Hernandez comes out of nowhere. All right. So
Tim Donahue comes back.
Tim Donahue comes back.
Yeah, they let him out of prison. Like, listen.
Oh, he's been a free man for a bit.
Listen, we're already partnered with DraftKings.
Referee assignments will be posted at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
I see. All right. Well, either way, so there we go. Next time we talk, we should be
the day before game 1. Yeah.
Is Porzingis going to be back for the finals?
We should be previewing those. Yes, he should. Well, how much he'll play, that is the question.
It
is funny that there was...
No, I mean, just because it's also, he just hasn't played basketball in like a month either, so they're probably not going to give him a full load.
And then gross. No, don't do it.
Well, you had to answer. Look. In light of Rolling Stone's article, we have decided to not promote Sean P. Diddy Combs any further on this here platform, even if it's at his, behest, whatever you may feel. We thought it would be a little more topical to find someone who has not yet been charged, at least. So.
It's just the fact that Patrick knew what you were going to do.
I saw his eyes light up.
I've been waiting for a moment of integration.
Oh yeah. So
either way,
it's like no.
Before the Celtics won, there was the funny thing looking at the Mavs had potential. If they got past the Timberwolves, to have one of two storylines of either playing against Rick Carlisle in the finals or potentially KP in the finals. So I like both of those. And KP in the finals with Kyrie going against Boston, that's some good storylines too.
Yes, Kyrie takes number one for a lot of people, but for me, this is something my close friends can attribute to, especially all the Mavericks ones, because I've been saying this for many years. I've been waiting for it. I've been trying to set the stage for Luka versus Jason Tatum for best player in the NBA for some time now, and finally the stage is set. Now, I understand why there's a lot of people who think Tatum shouldn't have any sort of say in this, and maybe that's correct.
I think he's really good, but yeah, I don't know.
I want him to have a chance in a series, because here's the difference. What if he can lock up Luka? What if he does the job, and then it doesn't quite mean as much that Luka's the better offensive player? Because I think that's unequivocal. That's done. That conversation's pretty much been done. But is Tatum good enough as an offensive player, which is better than like most of NBA history? And is he, is the defensive high, like he could be the best defensive player in basketball if he put his mind to it. Nothing about his physical makeup says that this guy couldn't absolutely fucking wreak havoc on a nightly basis defensively.
But
so consistent. Well, and that's it. So they get a great opportunity, and you got to be on your P's and Q's if you end up getting that matchup. And if you end up getting a hot Timberwolves with a big man that can shoot and maybe has confidence by this point, another big man that can protect the rim from the two great rim attackers that you have with Brown and Tatum.
And yeah, if you want to talk team of destiny, a team that came back from the 3-0.
Yeah, the team, talk about destiny. So either matchup, Boston definitely still has their work cut out for them. But at this point, I do feel comfortable to say, here we go. The Rangers have started us off. The Mavericks probably go next. Then the Stars should follow accordingly. And of course, the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to make it. Yeah. They're never going to make it.
But we still have FC Dallas.
If the Stars and Mavs both make the finals, I'm putting a bet on the Cowboys at least making the Super Bowl, because
you should. I would do that because it's the one time. Well, but that's always a shitty bet because everybody does it every year.
Yeah,
so
it's not going to. But I'm only going to do it on the year where it's going to make the most sense, because nothing makes sense if the Rangers, Stars, Mavs
all go boom, boom, boom. If Dallas goes 4 for 4 like that on the big boys,
3 for 3 would be a first. I'm pretty sure. 3 of
any. Boston's got to be the only city I've thought of in my lifetime.
They've got 2. They have 2, yeah, but I don't think they ever carried more than 2 simultaneously.
I think they one time had the New England Revolution win.
No, we're not counting MLS, Caesar. We're not doing it. I'm vetoing MLS.
I wish I had a laughter button.
Is that
what other?
Is
the
that
Bruins haven't won shit.
When was the last time the Bruins won the Cup?
During like the early 2000s.
Mid-aughts.
Okay, but you had the Patriots. The Red Sox came back around that time.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the Patriots, they went like almost 10 years. Yeah, almost 10 years from Super Bowl to Super Bowl.
But then the Sox did too.
They won in 2000. Right? Well, no, because they won in 2008, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, Sox got.
They did 2004, 2008, and so the only other team that would have won,
and they did again,
the Boston Celtics. And then I don't think the Bruins would have won that during that time. So the only other major sport.
Celtics have 08.
MLS.
Patriots have 4, 14, 16, 18. Red Sox have 07, 13, 18.
The Celtics only have 8.
And the Bruins have 2011. So Yeah, they carried 2 at a couple of different times, but they definitely never had 3 at the same time.
Well,
we already have. We already
If
have.
the Rangers
We already have
can-
2.
If the
We already have
Rangers,
2. The Renegades, baby.
we're only counting the 4 major sports,
We're counting Renegades.
and when you put them together, something about Captain Planet.
Something about Captain Planet. Oh man, I would hate to see what the Dallas version of Captain Planet would be. An insurrectionist?
Maybe. Listen, if the Stars and the Mavericks win, the city, the city's going to be just absolutely demolished. Downtown will never be the same again.
See, that's the thing is Dallas isn't really a riot city for
It can
much.
be.
No, it's just gonna be a bunch of people honking horns and revving vehicles downtown.
And when the Cowboys
You just-
win, their parade's gonna be
And
in
shooting
Arlington.
guns in the air,
So
probably.
that would be
they
a
get to do the
wild
parade.
one.
They get to do the parade around the fucking
That's the
parking
one
lot
cool
again.
thing is the Rangers could host us. The Cowboys will probably host. Honestly, we talked about it before. Cowboys probably hosting like multiple parades if they pull that shit off.
He's going. It's downtown
Stars-
Dallas. He's not doing it anywhere else.
Okay, but they all honestly, why not do all 3 if you're gonna do it, Jerry? You know what I mean? But anyway, we're not talking about Jerry right now. This isn't his moment. Don't give him shine.
There's probably some kind of laws about how much alcohol you're allowed to feed your players in a 72-hour period. So you gotta split those up if you're gonna do multiple parades.
But either way, this feels like 100% opportunity for us to get it in downtown
Why not
Dallas. For us
just going to
not
New
to have the
Hampshire,
Rangers.
Tom Harkin?
Look, I know why the Rangers are up Arlington's ass. I get it. They paid for 2 stadiums in less than like 30 years. That's not normal.
And 3 stadiums total. So
Yeah, 3 stadiums total.
if you want to count
So,
the first one as a professional stadium, which I don't think many people would, but
well,
it was pretty much just a giant
But
heat
they-
dome. That's
Yeah.
really what it was. That had a baseball diamond in the middle of it.
so yeah,
The second
But
one was
it's-
beautiful, and the third one's a chicken slaughterhouse or something.
it's been
It's a food court.
beautiful. It's been a beautiful thing to watch, even though I don't particularly root for the Mavericks over anybody. It is nice to see, and if they were to be matched up against Boston, I would probably be a little bit more biased than usual.
I think the NBA would prefer that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota's not the sexiest thing, but Ant Edwards really helps your bottom line. I think they got a good final 3 year. The Pacers somehow making it would have been.
Yeah,
Like-
Pacers Wolves would have been maybe the lowest rated finals of all time.
Yeah.
What is the lowest rated finals?
gotta be
Is
Spurs
it the Spurs
Nets.
Cavs?
Spurs Nets, I remember was I think Spurs Nets is still the record holder, but I think someone else got close once.
Was it?
I think it was
Spurs
2
and Cavs
Spurs. I think it
in
was 2 Spurs titles.
Spurs Cavs could have been down there, but it's LeBron's first. I would have thought that would at least get
No,
some
yeah,
juice.
because in 07 starts to spike back up again. It was also a period
Spurs
of time
Pistons.
that so it wasn't just that the Spurs were winning; it was the Spurs at a time. No, I don't think it was the
And
Pistons.
the East was just such garbage for a decade there that no
I
one.
think it would have been. Yeah, I guess it would have had to have been. Maybe it was 04 that also did really bad. No, that would have been Lakers.
Pistons.
That would have been Lakers Pistons. There's no way that did bad. I don't know. Either way, I do
Spurs,
remember the Nets one being really bad.
Pistons. Who the Spurs
Well,
beat
the
for
2020
first title?
NBA Finals is.
That's
It's
right. The
historically
2020 finals was the one that set the record.
Who's that?
because it
Lakers
was
who?
Lakers Heat.
Heat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
8
Yeah.
seed
That
Heat.
was why. That's why I knew we had just talked about this recently, and that's why the bubble titles. All right. Well, that's basketball for you, boys. We got to it fairly good time here. We've got a little foosball to get to as the future NHL champions take the ice. So,
Getting close. And if you're watching, you're probably ahead of me. So
oh, I know. I'm done. They're just skating around having fun. I always like to watch your reaction anyway, even if it's going to be bad. I'm like, oh. All right.
It was
All right.
funny because the stream
I'll
I was
take
watching for the last game. Sorry, Caesar. Right before you start, I was a couple minutes behind, so my friends were watching in real time or sending messages that I'm not opening. But every time I see one, I'm like, all right, watch.
Yeah.
Make sure you're watching extra closely now.
You know something's happening.
Right. All right, fellas. Well, let's talk about some foosball, some gridiron stuff. There is not a whole ton to talk about because we are in the midst of the NFL dead period. That is late spring going into the summer. But there is some news to talk about, and we're going to talk about some real serious news first, and not like super serious, but it can change how the game will be consumed by the viewer and how it is officiated, possibly. The NFL has decided to use optical tracking for yardage rulings in the preseason. So no more are we deciding first down with the chain gang in the preseason, but rather we're actually going to put chips in the ball and measure this, right? Using actual modern day technology. Sort of.
The rest
now,
are
this
still,
is going to be a test run.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of this.
The rest are still spotting the ball.
So.
They're still spotting the ball, but here's the thing. So, this will be fully implemented if this goes well in the preseason immediately into the regular season, right? I don't think we see a whole ton of that. Usually it's do it a little bit in the preseason and then...
What?
Yeah.
Dude, what?
It's a test. Yeah.
What?
The NFL is
the
doing
NFL?
Yeah, I know, right? So, yeah. This is just going to see if we can get more accurate line-to-gain rulings.
And speed things up, right?
And speed things up, yes. Now, however, should something happen with the technology on the field, of course, the chain gang will be there to do the thing the old-fashioned way.
I'm pretty sure the chain is also, like, it has some electronics in it itself to make sure that it's always at 10 yards. Like, I think I'm pretty sure the person on the backyard, it like tells them how far they are, but now we have something on the field that matches to that, basically.
I hope that's the case. But yeah, this was approved by the competition committee in March, and from what I've seen, there is not going to be any further talks about this at the owners' meetings if we've already had those. But yeah,
logical step.
Now let's talk it to some real serious news. This is some real serious journalism from your boy C's here. We're going to debunk, or rather de-spunk, the story of Mark Davis and this lady on the left. Hayden Hopkins, I believe.
Hey,
is her name.
Shout out to you for actually looking that up.
That's right. I have to be a serious journalist here.
You're telling me that this lovely couple is a lie. That these two beautiful people did not come together to create another life.
I'm telling you,
it is funny.
What I'm going to tell you right here.
He is pretty much in the only position in the world that he could be in where someone might actually believe that that's a real thing.
Listen, he is in Vegas. She is a pretty lady, from what I could tell. They were seen together one time, according to one of her Twitter rants recently. They were just sitting next to each other.
Like a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Yeah. And somehow, some way, people found out that she was pregnant. And however it happened, the Mark Davis rumor started flying that this 70-year-old man was making this face at her in a bedroom and put a baby in her. And she is 26, right? So that's a gross... That is just a gross combination of ages to make a baby. But it has been...
Pacino and De Niro.
Yeah, let's not talk about those guys. Anyway, these guys right here, this gentleman right here, did not put a baby in Miss Hopkins. Rather, Texas Rangers fielder Joey Gallo knocked one out on the park here. He hit a home run. And he's going to be expecting a child with this lady.
Proud papa.
And here's the thing. For those who are wondering what the Vegas connection is in all this, Joey Gallo's from Vegas.
She's from
Vegas boy. She's from Vegas. There you go. They met. They're making a baby. Mark Davis is not going to be the 70-year-old father.
Yeah. I believe what I heard is from her Twitter. She's talked about pretty much the last 2 years since people saw her sitting next to Mark Davis at some game. Her entire life has just been people asking her or telling her that she's dating Mark Davis.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a joke for that.
I don't know what the joke was.
It was obvious. Someone just told her. You know what I mean?
He's like, hey. Congrats, Joey Gallo.
Joey has a lot of pictures to choose from, by the way.
Yeah,
very expressive face.
There's some pretty funny little emoji reaction things on Discord that I have for Joey.
I've always enjoyed using the bubble gum blowing up for when the Rangers suck. That one's always been a good one. But
Yeah.
What a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
One of the few guys that Scott Boras absolutely fucked over that wasn't an owner.
That is.
Ayo. Hey, we don't know.
true.
We don't know anything about Scott Boras' sex life, so let's not judge. Let's not jump to any conclusions.
That's right, Patrick. How dare you?
Also, this might be better.
It's a good one.
That's great.
That was his face when he figured out that we actually put all of our franchise hopes onto him. Right there.
Yeah.
There was a second that was the facts.
Two-time All-Star. Don't forget.
Yeah. Oh.
In the era where you weren't forced to have an All-Star from every team.
It's true. Now,
shout out to Michael
gentlemen,
Young.
that covers the two. Oh my God, Blaylock.
He won an All-Star game, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some actual exciting things in the world of football. The hypothetical world, that is, of head coach Fight Club. That's right, baby. We have the NFC West this week. And let's go ahead and talk about our combatants.
Someone's
and
going to have to
who
throw
is
the
in
graphics up for me because my computer
got
just
you.
died. My laptop just died.
No worries, I have them right here. So we're going to talk about our 1 seed and our 4 seed. That matchup is going to be Kyle Shanahan against Jonathan Gannon of the Arizona Cardinals. And then in the 2 and 3 matchup, we have a newcomer. Going up against Sean McVay is brand new Seattle Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald.
Not a lot of
Let's take
pictures
it-
of him in Seahawks gear.
Yeah, actually, so I did my part of this. I have to present their heights, their weights, things like that. But obviously, I like to go above and beyond, give you a better idea of who these guys are. Of course, Sean McVay is the most familiar name here. Look at this stud. Look at him.
There were so many to pick from for him for this bit. I looked through so many pictures.
Hey, man, you know what I'm saying? Like Sean, he just look at this guy. He's going out to sleazy LA bars talking about the head coach of the football team, and then they're like, "No, you're not." And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And then we have, of course, the second most notable person here, Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if this is a real quote or not. I'm assuming it's bullshit.
There's no way.
Not a chance.
I also
Why do
feel
you
like
kind of look like
someone-
Aaron Rodgers in that picture?
Yeah,
though?
and someone hit him with a filter too. This is
Yeah, he's like
clearly been
pastel.
edited a little bit. So shout out to the sports memery. for-
Watercolored. I don't know what it's called.
And then a character we got more introduced to as a general audience last year, but Caesar knows all too well. There was some good ones. There was some Eagle jokes that I thought were good, but this one ended up being my choice here because it was the JPEG file and not a web file, and I just wanted to be lazy.
If
And-
Kyler Murray isn't here, I don't take this job.
And I thought that also was an interesting quote. I mean, if he wasn't there, someone probably kept the job, and then you wouldn't be hired. So it's technically true.
Well, who knows who the coach would be because the coach was only brought there for Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
God
they
damn,
brought
you're right.
they brought a defensive coach specifically to have with Kyler Murray.
And
And then
then-
what do you?
And then
Yeah,
Mike
McDonald.
McDonald, who the fuck is this guy? I've got
Yeah,
nothing, man.
he
I got
he might be an asset to the company. He might
I don't.
he
this
might he might not even know anything about football. He might actually be CIA.
This is a sting to take down some sort of criminal activity in the NFL.
I mean, I did just see that Pablo Torre about the guy the CIA sent to coach basketball in Ghana. So
Exactly. Hey, CIA, you need me to go over to some country and teach them hoops?
It's funny. What
6
was it?
figures.
Speaking of the CIA, I was seeing this on Twitter. It was a piece about Rick Rubin, and they're like, you know
being
what?
a CIA plant.
Be a
that's
CIA
that's a good
plant.
one.
And I'm like, you know what? The guy says like, yeah, I don't have any technical skills. I just have vibes. I have taste. I'm like, All right, I can see why you would.
If Rick Rubin wouldn't have gotten started in the 80s, I probably couldn't believe his story. But because of when he started and how he started,
Ooh,
oh,
bad time to lose
there you
Caesar.
go. Fucking CIA. I know he just exited himself out probably, but that was timely.
That was good.
Oh, they didn't get him. They missed. They missed.
They missed.
It's just
I'm
a
not
warning
saying
shot.
That's right. They just took down my browser for a quick second.
All right.
we're back.
So
Can't
the
keep me
Beastie
down.
Boys were not formed by, or co-formed, or not formed, but what would you give Rubin's success for the Beastie Boys? He's got to have is he like George Martin levels of credit? Kinda. It's kind of.
It's in that. It's in that ballpark for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so relative credit for the successes of one of the first big
Or them
rap
for him.
groups.
How do you chicken or egg? Brady or Belichick? Who knows?
Beastie
Well,
Boys.
only one of them went to go on to still make Yeezus.
Make.
Hey, his name's still on the box. Whether
Wall-
he enjoys that version or not is a
Wall of
different
sound.
version of reality.
I just want to know what he actually does.
He vibes, bro.
I like. It reminds me of having why you can't have Michael Jordan as a coach because he's just just fucking do it. I don't know. I can't tell you how this works. It just works.
No, honestly though, if you've ever listened to the interviews, the long form interviews with them, you can kind of see where this guy could get off on just being really tight with a bunch of just kind of open-minded creatives like you find in that field, right? Also one of his best friends is Phil Jackson. So he's a very interesting, weird man. And Phil Jackson could also be a CIA operative, and I wouldn't be that surprised.
Is that okay? Is that why Jordan had to step away for a little bit?
All the big-time hippies that survived, were they really plants or not? Did Bill Walton have cancer? Did he? All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Walton.
That might be too soon. I don't know.
That was
I think he would enjoy it, so it's fine.
Okay. That's
yeah.
fine. You know better than I do.
All right. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started with our first matchup. All right. So you have a bunch of normal-sized human beings going up against each other. Really,
Respectably tall, I think, for
Okay.
coaches.
Yeah, and
Non-ex-NFL players as well.
yeah. So if I remember correctly, last year, this was the episode, or this was the division that gave Patrick his first aneurysm in regards to how we run things on the Head Coach Fight Club.
Oh, this division definitely messed with me.
When Pete Carroll absolutely wiped the floor with each and every single combatant he faced in this division.
Unfortunately, he's withered with time.
Yes.
He's
And
ascended to the greater plane.
and so goes his what's the name of that punch again? The
The exploding heart.
Five-finger
punch.
death punch.
exploding heart
Was
punch.
that
or
actually what
something?
they called it?
I don't know.
No,
That's a
that-
band,
No, that's
isn't
a
it?
rock band.
Yeah.
It's a rock band. No, it was the exploding heart technique, I think. Palm hand technique thing.
It's the 5-point palm exploding heart technique. There
Yes,
we
I
go.
knew it was some wordy shit because it's Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
He
So there we go.
probably
The 5.
got it from someone else.
Yes. So with
I
that,
like his movies. I
Does-
didn't mean to sound like I was. being
No,
a
one
hater.
of the great samplers of all time.
now here's my 2 cents on this, right? With the 5-point palm exploding heart technique. Did that move get passed down to Mike McDonald? There's only one way to find out.
Well, we don't know anything about it.
Exactly. But we
is it?
do know that that our boy Carroll here, Pete Carroll, is still part of the Seahawks organization in one way or another. So he may not be a coach.
He's collecting paychecks to sit at home, I'm sure, but yes.
Yeah, so Mike McDonald could have hit him up and said, hey, I need to be prepared for the Fight Club. So let's go ahead and figure that out right now in the 2v3, Sean McVay versus Mike McDonald. Bethke, take it away with Sean McVay's tail of the tape, if you will.
So all I've got, weight is always going to be a guessing game. Some of these guys played. I was able to find Sean McVay's stats from his playing days, where they listed him at 5'10" as a height. I gave him 200 as the weight because he's probably not as slender as he was back then. Especially, look, come on, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the guns. You know what I mean? You got to have license to carry those things, and that's illegal in California, actually, so he needs to watch out. Anyway. And then you got Michael McDonald, who is not related to the other Michael McDonald, and not the other Michael McDonald either.
Why should I change my name?
This is the Michael McDonald with Mac spelled out, and Donald is not capitalized, even if I did that earlier when I loaded up the question mark. You don't know that as an audience, though. So this guy is allegedly 6'1", 200 pounds. I'm not 100% sure I got his stats or if I got the stats of a former player. So did my best. I've also considered all 4 of our candidates 200 pounds, whether they be or not.
All right. So it sounds like weight across the board will be even. So let's go ahead and waste no time as I spin the wheel to determine what kind of fight these gentlemen are going to be in. Here we go.
While the wheel spins, I made a reference that I thought was about the right guy, but it was a Michael Bolton joke. But you were talking about Michael McDonald.
Talking about Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, well,
part of the Doobie. At one point played a song or two with the Doobie Brothers.
I don't think it's any of the ones you listen to, but
yeah, no, he had one I think that was catchy.
Oh man! All right.
This is an interesting group for pro wrestling.
It is, because they're all a pretty generic-looking myth right here. Oh, God, are you playing
no,
what's the real theme?
Just
oh, man. It's a little piece of the Wrestling Royale theme song. Now, let's go ahead and start the fights. I'm going to take things out first. So, I'm going to go ahead and say, you know, I look at these guys, and I think Sean McVay, he kind of gives me the vibes of 1997 Shawn Michaels here, all right? He has that bravado. He has the guns. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but it doesn't matter. You can get the charisma. It's just radiating off this man. And then you have the wild card that is Mike McDonald here. Not a lot to be said. You know, he's a defensive-oriented guy coming from Baltimore. He's shaped. You know, he's been molded by the city, all right, of Baltimore. He's kind of exudes that grit and grind. So the closest thing that I can think of, right, in this regard, is Mankind. All right. So in my opinion, the way this comes out is we're gonna have Shawn Michaels versus Mankind, type of a match here. All right, you have the flashy Sean McVay. He gets into the ring. You know, he does his little pose. He's like, he calls himself a little sexy boy. All right. He is just public thrusting. Yeah, he's public thrusting to the audience.
I'm a little sexy boy.
That's right. And then Mike McDonald comes out into the ring. He's kind of all like hunched over. He's wearing like a little mask, but you can clearly tell it's him. Right? And he's like, have a nice day. Or whatever the fuck Mankind would say back in the day. All right. And they go at it. They're exchanging punches left and right. But then Sean McVay, he's going to go for a little kick to the face. We call it sweet chin music. Mike McDonald grabs the leg, throws it down, and then he reaches deep into his sack. Right? Man. And he pulls out the sock. He calls it Mr. Socko. All right. And he goes to put this in Sean McVay's mouth here, as Mankind would want to do to Shawn Michaels back in the day. But Sean McVay, he's ready. He is ready. Kicks that right out of his hand, goes up, jumps on top of it, and hits him with a DDT. It looks like it's almost done, right? He goes for the pin, the 1, the 2. Mike McDonald kicks out. Sock goes in the air. What's this? His fingers explode out of the sock. And he just readies it. What is he readying? That's right. The 5-point palm exploding heart technique. He did, in fact, inherit this from good old Pete Carroll. He goes to hit it, but guess what? He's not the same wise sage. He's not the same experienced vet that Pete Carroll was. McVay manages to avoid the hit, rolls him over for a quick 3 count.
Ayo.
He escapes. He barely wins by the skin of his teeth. Sean McVay, you have won, and you advance. Mike McDonald, your only hope is if the other judges assumed you would win in this matchup. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this rock to Bethke to tell me how he thinks this wrestling match would go.
All right. Well, we know my expertise is wrestling. So I've gone ahead and prepared some things. I already had these ready, actually. I did no research at all while you were doing that. This was all fresh off my mind. I'm just this well versed into the history. I looked at these two guys and I thought, the Attitude Era is my era. That's my prime for this. So I needed to take guys from that Attitude Era that I felt like could represent our fighters well. Now, Sean McVay, we know, again, the gun show. So what do we do here? We go with Buff Bagwell. I don't know who the fuck this dude is, but look at him, bro. Look at the top hat. It says Buff. Look at him. He's buff.
That looks very 90s, if I had to guess.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's very
totally
90s
90s.
WCW.
Yeah, facts. And then on the other side of things,
That looks like a character in a game where they don't have the licensing for anything, so they're like, buff. That's a word that's closely related to what we're doing here.
Buff, he has the stuff, was his theme song, I think.
yeah. So that's representing one fighter. And then on the other side of life, this one is someone I actually did have a bit of memory with once I saw his name pop up. But I don't remember much about him. We don't know much about Mike McDonald. So much to my surprise to find out that he's actually none other than Al Snow.
I have no memory of that guy.
Oh,
So-
I remember him very well.
So yeah, Al Snow, of course, I didn't remember it all that well either. But then, of course, as soon as I saw the head that says "Help me," usually this isn't a good picture for it, but usually the head says "Help me" in Sharpie on it. And yeah, he was sort of a mankind-esque figure with a little bit of crazy wild guy energy, and of course, he had a weird lady head next, mannequin head as his prop. I don't think he was a ventriloquist. I think he did I think he talked for it though. But either way, all that is to say, look at these goofy ass wrestlers I found, and Sean McVay wins because I don't want to have to keep making things up for a guy that I have no idea even exists in reality. Like I just want to just make him go away. Just go away.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I'll go ahead. I'll quickly run through what I was thinking. So Mike McDonald is the guy that's already in the ring when they come back from commercial.
Oh God!
And then Sean McVay gets an entrance. And it's not that McDonald's even a heel. He's just what do you call? He's not a tomato. They don't call him tomato cans in wrestling. A jobber. Yeah,
Yep.
he's just there so everyone can cheer for McVay beating his ass. And that's pretty much it. Earn your stripes,
All right.
McDonald. No rookies winning head coach fight club. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we're very serious business.
You got to take a few
Absolutely.
licks before you know where to give one.
That's right. Maybe next year when
Unless-
you've perfected.
Unless Myles Garrett becomes an NFL head coach, and then maybe.
Well, I guess you got a
Player
point there.
coach?
quick preview. He beats everybody with a helmet and wins every fight.
Everybody's dead. All right. Well, anyway, Mike McDonald, just perfect your 5-point palm exploding heart technique, and maybe next year you'll have a shot. But for now, you've been eliminated, and Sean McVay gets to go on to the next round. Now let's go to the 1 versus 4 matchup. We have Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers against Jonathan Gannon. Becky, once again, take it away with the tale of the tape about our combatants here, starting with good old Kyle.
Kyle Shanahan is our tallest competitor at 6'2". Although in his dating profiles, I do know that he puts 6'4". So Kyle, that's it's not very genuine. Okay. Also 200 pounds, because of course I'm never going to find any of this information accurate for modern coaches. But I am happy to let you know, as I let Patrick know earlier, I was able to obtain his height from none other than IMDb. So shout out to
weird
Kyle
because
Shanahan.
he played for UT, didn't he?
I'm sure that he's also registered as some other thing, but my
There's a wide
laziness
receiver out there.
Yeah.
But his SEO.
Well, I don't know if he was a
pulls
wide
up-
receiver as much as he was like a gunner.
Well, yeah, but he was listed as a wide receiver at UT,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, during the Sims Applewhite era, I believe.
Tough. Either way, we're talking about a 6'2", 200-pound gentleman, allegedly. Versus Jonathan Gannon, who you can't really tell here that well, but very beady-eyed individual. 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. He's a little bit beefier, so maybe he's 210. Maybe we should bump him up. Maybe he's 205. Give him a little more muscle. So that's the two competitors we have here. A little bit better of a range here. Mike McDonald wasn't able to use his reach advantage over Sean McVay. Can Kyle Shanahan use his over Jonathan Gannon?
We will find out as I spin the wheel to determine what is the next fight that these two gentlemen will be going under. And here are the results.
They list Super Bowls on IMDb.
There you go.
That's right. These two gentlemen will duke it out at midfield
Nice.
during a game. Now, what probably is going to, lead to these events, all right? Because we both know that Kyle Shanahan is a fiery guy, but I don't think he's ever gotten in the face of his fellow coach. Because I think he knows he probably can't win that fight. But lo and behold, his opponent is bitch made, and that is Jonathan Gannon. All right? Now, it is no secret that on this podcast, the biggest Jonathan Gannon hater to walk the face of the earth is right here narrating this. So will I come in with a biased opinion? Who knows? Let's figure it out. I'll go ahead and take things with the lead here, or I'll take lead on this again. So it's the middle of a Cardinals 49ers game, right? We're going into halftime. The two coaches cross paths as they're going into the tunnel, and the San Francisco 49ers are beating the Arizona Cardinals 28-0. All right. Kyler Murray's been knocked out of the game. You have your backup quarterbacks in for the Arizona Cardinals, but they're getting knocked around. The 49ers, they play dirty as they are known to do on defense. And Jonathan Gannon's not having it with it. So he goes up to Kyle and is like, "Hey, Kyle, fuck you, Kyle. Why does he talk like Cartman? I don't know. But that's how Jonathan Gannon sounds."
That's how anyone talks
Shanahan-
to someone named Kyle sounds.
Exactly. And so Kyle Shanahan,
cultured
he just
individual.
Kyle Shanahan's like, "You got a problem with me? We can take this outside." They're in the tunnel. Granted, they're kind of technically already outside, but whatever. These two gentlemen walk back out onto the field, both looking at each other dead in the eye. They're not breaking away. They're not breaking eye contact. They drop their headsets. They drop their playbooks. And what do they start doing? They start duking it out. All right. Kyle Shanahan takes a couple of good licks right to the chin. Listen, Jonathan Gannon, he's a beefy guy. He's muscular. You look at him, he looks like he works out. So those hits probably hurt. But Kyle Shanahan, I know a motherfucker that fights dirty when I see one. And I know that this man would be the one to fight dirty. So as he's trying to recuperate, trying to gather himself, what does he do? He goes for the old dick twist. grabs Gannon by the nads. Little does he know that man is rocking a small package down there, so it really does not affect him all that much. and then Gannon goes for a headbutt. Kyle manages to dodge, pokes him in the eye, and then picks up his headset and starts beating the hell out of Jonathan Gannon, causing him to bleed out. And that is your winner. Kyle Shanahan, you win a dirty fight over a punk bitch in Jonathan Gannon. Congratulations.
You're talking about this person here.
Yes,
Jesus.
Jonathan Gannon. That's that son of a bitch right there.
Does Nick Sirianni keep 17 pens behind his ears at all times?
He keeps like a highlighter for no reason.
I do like the NFL cancer sweatshirt he's wearing, though, because those are pretty cool looking, I think.
Oh, that was very detailed of this artist.
I didn't even notice that. All right.
I only noticed it because Mike McCarthy wore it a bunch. And
You did.
it pops on him. Looks good.
Now, Patrick, since you have a lot on stake here, I'll just let you get this out of the way so you may continue with the SARS game that's on the screen.
Look, I don't think it's too crazy to say that Kyle Shanahan might have the mental edge in this fight. And I think he uses the Joey Bosa factor and just before the fight, because this is a fight on the field, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he sends Bosa right after Gannon. And Bosa basically does all the work. And then even though it's a fight on the field, Kyle Shanahan still walks over there and does the pin and makes the ref do a 3 count.
All right. We'll go on with that. And Bethke, how do you think this goes?
So I have a very, very vivid image of this night. I think it's a rainy game. It's a very important game. This is rivalries right here, right? The Cardinals and the 49ers. This is historical. Two of the most important franchises in football history.
All right.
Existing on the same field once again.
One of them.
Two of the pro football teams
maybe
of all
the
time.
oldest. So
Yeah, two of the pro football teams of all time on the same field.
two of the pro football teams.
All right.
It's a bloodbath, right? We've had a great game. Of course, Kyle Shanahan and his 49ers, they're up early in this game. They're looking very up and in charge. Halftime comes, some conversations happen. Jonathan Gannon rallies his team around. Everybody gets a speech. He stops at Marvin Harrison Jr., his rookie. He says, hey, got a conversation we need to have specifically. They have a very private conversation. No one hears it. Field resumes, okay? Next Cardinals possession, man takes the ball back, drops back, throws it to Marvin Harrison. It's Kyler Murray. Gets the ball to Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison jumps downfield. He's broken open. He's got it. It's there. All of a sudden, he stops playing football. He drops the football. He pulls out a gun and shoots the motherfucker Kyle Shanahan dead on the field.
When did he become his dad?
I've been saving this one for a bit. If you are a cinema fan, if you've watched great movies, then you'll have seen The Last Boy Scout. And you'll know that it opens with a bizarre play where, because of stuff you find out later in the movie, one of the football players, mid-play, takes out a gun and shoots another football player during the game in a similar manner to what I described. Of course, I changed it to where he shoots the head coach. But yeah, that was how I came to that conclusion, is that I had just been wanting to get The Last Boy Scout in there. And then as soon as I realized that the best receiver to choose from on the Arizona Cardinals was none other than Marvin Harrison Jr., it was just like destiny. It was just like, oh.
Like father, like son, I guess, allegedly. All right. Well, either way,
I can't put up the parody banner.
Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, that's wrong one. No. We've learned our lesson. We promise.
Kyle Shanahan, he advances at 2-1 on this one. So now we have Kyle Shanahan versus Sean McVay. Now, gentlemen, I've already spun the wheel, but for our audience's sake, let's show them what it landed on.
Oh, I thought it was another one. I was about to be like, what the?
Our least used fight.
Oh, God.
That is right.
Okay.
The medieval joust makes its triumphant return. So how do these two match up in a medieval joust? Well, let's figure this out. This is how I'm going to do it, though. All right. I look at this, and I'm like, you know what? What if, instead of they're both on horses, they are on supersized versions of their mascots? So Kyle,
is this a bandwagon? Is this like a wagon if it's the Niners? Is it?
It's a minor.
It's a minor. So you're
no
going to be
drizzy.
on top of an old man who's been prospecting for gold all day.
Yes, no drizzy on this minor.
Drizzy. No, ayo.
All right. So you have a supersized gold miner.
Hey,
And
I
then
didn't
you
know what's
have-
supersized. What?
R.I.P. to the Super Size Me guy.
Yeah.
He died.
And all right. And now you also have on the other side Sean McVay, who has the benefit of getting to be on top of a ram. All righty. So what are the pros and cons of each vehicle, if you will, for these combatants on the jousting? Let's be real. The miner, he's old. He has like a, what is it? Was that like coal lung or whatever it was called?
The black lung.
Miner's lung. Yeah. He's dealing with the black lung. He's dealing with the black lung. So even though he is a giant man, he still
I
has
just remember Ben
giant
Stiller
black
being like-
lung.
Ben Stiller working in there for like 30 minutes, be like, Father, I think I have the black lung.
That
He
was
says
good.
Bob. We call him Bob. We go,
Now,
oh.
now back to this. So our fighters here, they ready up their lances and they go at it. And as they're about to collide, it's
Now,
clear
lances
that the ram,
is a euphemism.
it's the big spears that they use for the jousts.
So, okay, it is.
I'm with
euphemism.
you.
Yeah. So as these two are about to connect, hold on, let's get in the camera. Boom. Almost like a docking scene. So as these two men are about to connect, it's very clear that the ram is significantly
come on now.
faster. He's gonna do it again.
Well, you said two men connect. What
Yeah.
am I supposed to do?
Oh, they're not
It was
connecting.
like the
they're
most
working
working one
out.
of all of them.
I don't know. The one about the big load for Porzingis was probably the best one. Anyway, back to this. So, right at the point of contact, the ram, a lot faster than the miner, gets there quicker. And what happens as the dust settles? Oh, it's clearly in favor of Sean McVay, who has driven his lance through the throat of Kyle Shanahan. He is the winner of this medieval joust because, again, they're not on horses. They're on supersized versions of their mascot. Now, I'll go ahead and pass this on to Bethke.
Is the miner on all fours?
No, he has
I don't like
like-
that sentence. As someone no.
I didn't do anything yet. I put it up. So look, all I know is if he's not on all fours, then ultimately the way I see this going is Shanahan loses because you have a low center of gravity with Sean McVay being a lower elevation human. You have a ram that's lower elevation as an animal. Okay. So you're both low, but then you have this dude just a giant human running with another human on his back, essentially, I don't even know where the lance is. Like, where is he even supposed to,
Under the armpit.
But there's no good lance
It's
position for Shanahan.
He's pulling it out of the prospector's overalls. And then
So then he's got the whole combo breaker he's got to do with it. So I think ultimately what happens here is and I don't know if this breaks the rules of medieval jousting. We might have to consult a rule book, but I think that it would take out the minor, then taking out Shanahan. So ultimately, if that's legal, then I think Sean McVay has to win based off the criteria laid forth, presented to the court.
So it sounds like it's 2-0, which by majority would ascend McVay to the next round. But Patrick, as is customary, we need to see what the entire panel believes would happen. So go ahead and give us your idea of how this medieval joust would take place.
yeah, no, sure. I think it makes sense for Shanahan to come in some kind of mining cart on a track, and he's got someone else fucking cranking it for him.
Yeah, I like the cart. Gives him a lot of momentum.
But then McVay, I can't believe you guys missed this. Obviously, going to go with the sponsorship opportunity, and he comes out in a Dodge Ram, and just runs
like a rock,
and just runs Shanahan over with a truck. He runs him over with a truck.
Well, let me ask you one question. Okay, let me ask you one question though. That thing got a Hemi in it. Well, honestly, I think if I would have been told that this was a car versus a cart, I could have, but I had to go with the rules, and it was the way that you laid them out. I had to be literal. I had to be Captain Spock or whatever.
You're right. And either way, it doesn't sound like Kyle Shanahan really had a chance in the medieval joust. This was not his area of expertise. And it just bad fighting conditions.
If I'm being honest, my original idea was that McVay was going to be spent too long like smiling and waving to the girls, and Shanahan was going to beat him. But then I thought of the Dodge Ram and went with that.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's a good improvisation right there. So now, Kyle Shanahan, the fact that you lost doesn't mean that your journey in Fight Club is over. However, you will have to go through the losers bracket if you want to experience glory once more. Sean McVay, you advance to the next round in the winners bracket of Head Coach Fight Club. Now, gentlemen, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have lost track of some of the divisions that we've already covered, but I don't think we've gone through all 16 quite yet. So, we will announce next week's division.
As soon as we count them.
Exactly. So
embarrassing.
So stay tuned for that. Other than that, I got nothing else to contribute to this. Gentlemen, I'll give you all the parting words. I don't fucking know.
All I got to say is,
as they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
And I yield my time to the majority leader.
So it's called option quarterback. That's working the problem. It's working the problem, boys.
all right. Thanks, everybody. Like, subscribe, comment, share, remix us on YouTube and TikTok.
React to us and put it on YouTube. We had the worst podcast I've ever sat through. Reaction. Boom. Help us both out.
Please and thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you guys.
See you later.